Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. Details of the distribution and procedures for administering COVID-19 vaccines will be announced tomorrow. Representatives of the highest state authorities met today in the National Security Bureau. The Polish Ministry of Health reported nearly 5,000 new coronavirus infections in the country. 96 more people have died of coronavirus and coexisting diseases. The total number of people who have died since the beginning of the epidemic has now reached 22,960. Today's meeting of the Polish President and Prime Minister was the last stage of consultations regarding the national vaccination programme. The details will be announced tomorrow at the government meeting. The President gives full support to the activities of the government. Over 2,000 items of information, reports and opinions were received during consultations regarding the vaccination programme. This programme has a chance to work only if it is a national, mass-scale programme which unites all social groups. Only then will we be able to conduct mass-scale vaccinations, which will help us reach our goal, and that is to take control over the epidemic in 2021. Health Minister Adam NIEDZIELSKI has announced that some restrictions should be extended until the 17th of January. These decisions will be made by the Government Crisis Management Team, which is headed by Prime Minister Morawiecki. In my opinion, these restrictions, especially those which concern the winter holidays, should be extended so that people stay at home in order to avoid the third wave of the epidemic. The government is planning on conducting 3.5 million vaccinations a month. According to Dr. Michał Sutkowski, this number is realistic, but whether the goal is reached or not will depend on Polish citizens. I'm rather a pessimist. However, it does not mean that we should have to sit here and cry over the bad condition of Poles. Together with specialists, we should implement this programme through a reasonable campaign and immediately start teaching basic health awareness in elementary schools. According to a survey conducted by the Market and Social Research Institute for Wirtualna Polska, nearly 60% of Poles are afraid of the side effects of the COVID-19 vaccine. We have to analyse the side effects as well as benefits of every single drug. If our arm turns red or if we get a headache which lasts a few hours, these are the side effects of the vaccine. We don't know of any other possible side effects, but there is no information that these side effects will last much longer. Healthcare workers will be the first to be vaccinated. Today, the Polish Ministry of Health published a list of over 500 facilities where people will receive vaccines. According to the Ministry of Health, this stage of the programme will end in February. The Hungarian and Polish governments are claiming success during last week's adoption of the European Union budget for 2021 to 27 and the Reconstruction Fund, as well as the relaxation of the rule of law conditions. Meanwhile, the Polish government was threatened with the loss of its parliamentary majority over the weekend. Before the European Union summit, Solidarity Poland demanded that the government veto the union budget. According to politicians from this party, the European Commission will use the dependence of member states on payments to influence government policy. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki and Jarosław Kaczyński, the head of the governing Law and Justice Party, believe that they have obtained as much as possible and that the settlement is beneficial for Poland. I recommend the interview of Jarosław Kaczyński in Gazeta Polska. This is one of the smarter and more important interviews he has given in recent years, because he calmly explains the rules of political action in a situation of very limited possibilities. When we have a few bad options and a few options that are little better than bad, we choose the option a little better than the bad one, i.e. we roll the conflict into the next few years. The conflict with the Union and the shape of the European Union, that is, with the dominant states of the Union, is not over, but will only break out in a few years. Today, however, we are launching EU funds for Poland and the entire Union, without the possibility of taking this money from us by pressure and blackmail. Perhaps they will keep trying, but they will do it illegally and against their own declarations. It may be the same, but it will be more difficult for them. Jarosław Kaczyński said that we were given a sabre to defend the Republic of Poland, and this is true. But you have to be able to use this sabre, because the effectiveness of this weapon depends on the skill of the swordsman. Today we have this sabre and we have a good fencer, Kaczyński. The authorities of Solidarna Polska, one of the ruling coalition groups, voted yesterday on whether to leave the government. In the event, it was decided to remain in the coalition. Mount Etna, on the east coast of Sicily, Europe's largest active stratovolcano, has erupted once more. After 3 years of silence, the volcano is spewing out lava once again, with lava fountains reaching heights of 100 metres. Dense volcanic ash and lava fountains spew into the sky as volcano Etna erupts in Sicily. Volcanic activity on Etna's southeast crater was first recorded at 9:20 p.m. on Sunday evening, and within half an hour the intensity of the blast increased from medium to high. The Italian volcano is Europe's largest, and Etna's frequent blasts are often accompanied by large lava flows. The crater produced lava fountains reaching up to 100 metres high, and a dense ash plume rose to an estimated 5 kilometres, according to the Volcanic Ash Advisory Centre in Toulouse. Sandfalls on villages and towns south of the Sicilian volcano have been reported, as well as loud roars in Calabria, as smoke was seen heading towards Catania. A magnitude 2.7 earthquake was recorded on the slopes of Etna before the blast. However, experts are unable to confirm whether these events are related. In the past 24 hours, 17 quakes have been reported. A draft regulation on maritime spatial planning, which will open the Baltic Sea to offshore energy production, was added to the list of government legislative work. The draft is to be adopted by the end of the first quarter of next year, as required by European Union regulations. The adoption of this plan will unlock the granting of new concessions for the construction of more wind farms in the Baltic Sea. The main purpose of the maritime spatial planning is to determine the individual functions and uses of maritime areas and to manage conflicts occurring in maritime areas. It was stated that the draft plan of the spatial development of inshore sea waters, territorial sea and the exclusive economic zone in the scale of 1 to 200,000 will cover about 97% of the Polish maritime area and will constitute a comprehensive regulation of maritime spatial planning. In accordance with the essence of the solutions included in the draft, it has been indicated that the plan includes valid permits for the erection and use of artificial islands, structures and equipment in Polish maritime areas, as well as permits for the laying and maintaining of submarine cables and pipelines in inshore waters and Polish territorial waters, issued on the basis of the provisions of this Act. Moreover, the textual part of the plan takes into account the distribution of borders of closed zones for shipping and fishing, established in accordance with the needs of national defence or security. The planned date for adoption of the draft by the government was indicated as the first quarter of 2021. That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.